Why use a travel advisor? Welcome to Beyond the Brochure, the podcast where we go beyond the glossy photos and the perfect marketing images to talk about what travel really is like. I'm Katie from Unplugged Travel Duo, and today we are tackling a question I hear all the time on episode 1. And before I answer that question, I want to let you know that I'm coming to you from the banks of the Danube River after just disembarking one of our 7-night all-inclusive river cruises on the Danube River, and it has been absolutely amazing. So this travel agent is working and living to bring you that firsthand knowledge. And so do people really still use travel agents? That's the question I get all the time. The short answer, absolutely yes. But today's travel advisors do much more than simply book a flight. Let's dive in. Then versus now. Many people, myself included, picture travel agents sitting behind a desk with stacks of brochures. And years ago, that was true. I, however, was always under the opinion that you would pay a travel agent to do the planning and the looking and the booking for you. Turns out, then that might have been true, not so much now. I can hear you saying, then Katie, how in the world do you get paid? Well, it's not from you, the client, it is from the travel industry. There's already a commission built in every single booking, with the exception of air, even though there may be a few exceptions to that, even every single booking from hotels to all-inclusives to the theme parks to the cruises, river or ocean, excursions, car rentals, really, everything to do with travel has a commission built in. And so that is where my full-time income comes from those commissions that are already built in there. So you, the client, aren't paying. Now you have to ask yourself, if that's the question and that's how it works, why aren't you using an agent? Today, travel advisors are destination experts, travel planners, problem solvers, and advocates. For who? You. Why travelers use advisors? The average traveler spends hours researching, and really that is exactly what I hear from clients. There's so many options. I didn't want to mess it up. I had no idea where to start. I started and I got overwhelmed. The spiral happens. Which resort? Which cruise line? Which cabin? Which airport transfer company? Oh my goodness. Which excursion should we do? Do I know if they're any good? Travel advisors help narrow down the choices and save you time. But we're much more than that. Not too long ago, I had the pleasure of talking with a new-to-me client. This was a woman who had found me on social media and set up an appointment as a new client to talk about their next vacation. She and her husband were on the phone, and they were pretty excited that they had spent hours, and they felt like they had finally narrowed down what they wanted to do. They had landed on an all-inclusive in Cabo San Lucas, but they really wanted to talk with an advisor, get my opinion, and really see if this was the place they wanted to go, and if I would just get it booked for them. So I started that conversation like I often do, and I said, I just really want you both to tell me what you want from this vacation. So the wife went first, and she said, I would just really like to decompress, have a very chill environment. I really love a spa, and I want to be able to sit on the beach in a lounger and read my book. Sounds simple. The husband said he'd like a different restaurant every night. He wanted a chill vibe. He likes the pool after he goes in the water and snorkels. He's a big snorkeler, and he wanted to just be able to get up, go to this beach, and snorkel when he wanted. And I said, okay, let's talk about this for a minute. I said, the resort you chose happens to be a family resort in June. It has kid pools coming down into the pool. Now, don't get me wrong. I love kids just as much as anyone else. I worked with kids for 31 years. If I'm looking for a chill vibe, that's not necessarily my picture of a chill environment. And they agreed. Number one. Number two, I said sitting on the beach might be okay, but I happen to have just been to that resort and that beach. And I want to let you know, if you're okay with this, great, but there will be quite a few vendors almost nonstop coming to your chair asking you if you're interested in buying their wares. Oh, she said, I don't really want to do that. Okay. Number two. Number three, when we had talked, the husband related that they weren't interested in any kind of fancy room, just the tropical view would be fine for them, as they plan to spend more time out on the resort itself. I said, that's great. This resort has 5 restaurants, but 2 of them are reserved for the premier and preferred club level. And he asked what that meant, and that's a great question. What it means is that you're paying for a higher level room to have access to different hotel amenities. One of those, in this instance, being restaurant options. So that brought his restaurant options down to 3. That was an issue for him. I said, but really, I think what you want to consider is the fact that you won't be able to snorkel. That being said, we could certainly set up some excursions for you to go and snorkel. And he said, wait, what do you mean I can't snorkel? I can just get up and go to the water. And I said, well, little known fact about Cabo San Lucas is because of exactly where it's placed in the geographical environment there, with the currents and the rocks, it really is not a snorkeling destination for a lot of reasons. But for this particular beach, it's a non-swim beach, meaning you can't get in the water in this particular destination. Cabo really only has just a few beaches that are swimmable. And literally you could have heard a pin drop. They really had no idea that was the case with Cabo. So then that launched into, where would you recommend? And I'm happy to say that they are experiencing a wonderful vacation in Antigua. And the snorkeling and the chill vibe at an adult-only resort with a beautiful spa and very limited vendors that come along is exactly what they experienced. But that was exactly what they wanted. One big misconception is that travel advisors are more expensive. Not true. In many cases, the pricing is exactly the same price, but sometimes you may have a lower price as an advisor, or I may have some perks and benefits for you. But beyond the financial savings or difference, the priceless situation comes in with our guidance and our expertise, and the fact that you have the availability to reach out to a human and ask the questions and know that you've got a human with you who's personally curated this vacation, who has a vested interest in how this vacation comes off at your fingertips. You gain someone who knows the destinations, understands the suppliers, has completed training, can help avoid costly mistakes, and when things go wrong, because you know they're going to, you've got travel delays, flights canceled, weather causing disruption, baggage gets lost. And when you've booked everything yourself, you're often spending hours on hold trying to problem solve the situation. When you work with an advisor, you've got someone helping navigate the solutions. I want to share a quick story with you. I helped 2 friends plan a girls' weekend trip away. They left the guys at home and they wanted an adult-only all-inclusive. Keep in mind, this was an all-inclusive I'd previously had guests at. It is a 5 out of a 5. I also track my clients as they're traveling on the day of travel. I knew they should be close to checking in. And sure enough, I got a text. And the first part of the text read, "We're here." And I thought, oh, great. I clicked into the text and it said, "And it's awful." Oh, no. What happened? It shouldn't be awful. At check-in, they were told that since the day before, that particular resort, no one's fault really, was having water, sewer, and electric issues. I'll stop there. You all can imagine what that might entail after 24 hours. But the kicker was that the resort was really unclear as to when that situation was going to be taken care of. That was the problem. If that had been you who had booked that yourself, what would have been the solution? They had a travel advisor on their hand. They reached out. Like all my clients know, I want to know if there's any issues. And 3 hours later, I had them at a new resort, similar vibe, similar feeling, similar price range, transfers included, and they were ecstatic. They didn't really know how I pulled that off, and that's okay, but they were ecstatic. I was able to get the funds released from the first resort, get them applied to the second resort, and it was a seamless situation that could have been a totally different story. But that was the power for them to have a travel advisor in their pocket. I'd love to hear from you. Would you have preferred to handle that situation on your own and spend the hours on the beach if it was possible to get those funds released and rebook yourself? Or are you like my two clients that are now clients for life who were thrilled to have an advisor that went to work for them? That is the advocacy piece that I was more than happy to provide for them. Did they pay me anything extra for that to happen? No. My commission was already built into the booking. It was a pretty quick booking to begin with. I was well taken care of. I didn't need to charge them anything in addition. It's just part of the job. When you've got an advisor on your hands, you've got power and an advocate. I love being able to share real stories from real clients that I've had that not only showcase a bit of the benefits of using an advisor, but part of why I absolutely love what I'm doing. Your Beyond the Brochure boarding pass, your takeaway for today? I encourage you to reach out for an advisor, someone that is certified in the destination or type of travel you're looking for. Be that an all-inclusive or Caribbean getaway or a European destination or river cruising, all the areas I happen to be specialized in. But even if it isn't me, reach out to an advisor. Ask them some questions and connect with someone that has an interest and experience in what you're looking for that next vacation. Today we talked about why travel advisors still matter and how we can provide value beyond simply making reservations. Don't ask, can I book this myself? Ask, do I want to spend hours researching and managing it myself? Next episode, we're discussing one of the most debated topics in travel. Dun, dun, dun. Travel insurance. Thanks for joining me on Beyond the Brochure. And remember, the brochure shows you the destinations. We're here to show you everything beyond it.